The vast council chamber of the Galactic Alliance hummed with alien laughter. Ambassador Sarah Chun stood at the center, her jaw clenched as representatives from 12 different species mocked Earth's request to join their ranks. Humans? Zarkonian, the reptilian delegate from the Zarkon Empire, hissed through sharp teeth. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are toys. Your species barely left its own solar system 50 years ago. Sarah maintained her composure. Behind her stood Captain Jung-Hoon Park and Commander Seo-Yeon Kim, both veterans of humanity's deep space program. They watched as the alien council displayed holographic comparisons. Sleek zircon battlecruisers next to Earth's blocky. Industrial-looking vessels dot the Vorthan representative. A crystalline being named Vex chimed its agreement. Earth vessels use nuclear fusion. We mastered antimatter drives 3,000 years ago. Your fleet of 200 ships would not last 10 minutes against a single Zircon destroyer. Min Jun Lee, Earth's military advisor, whispered to Sarah. They don't know about Project Titan. Sarah nodded slightly. Project Titan was humanity's greatest secret. Not their ship's weapons, but something far more powerful. Something the galaxy had never seen. The humans request full membership, Sarah said calmly. We offer our unique contributions to the Alliance. More laughter echoed through the chamber. The council members compared humanity to insects, to primitive mammals barely worth notice. They showed recordings of human ships, ugly, box-like constructions with exposed pipes and rough welding marks. Look at their flagship, Zarkonian sneered, displaying the UES Pennsylvania. They paint their ships gray. They use projectile weapons alongside their weak lasers. How quaint. The council voted unanimously. Humanity was denied membership. Earth would remain a protectorate, a polite term for a pet species. Protected but powerless dot as Sarah's delegation left. She heard Zarkonian's final insult. When the swarm arrives in this sector, we'll make sure to evacuate some humans. Consider it ... charity. The swarm, an endless fleet of biological ships that consumed entire star systems. The Alliance had fought them for centuries, always retreating, always losing ground. Sarah smiled grimly. They'll see soon enough. Back on the Pennsylvania, Admiral Chun, no relation to Sarah, received the news. He turned to his bridge crew. Status of the hidden fleet? 8,000 ships standing by in dark space, Admiral, reported Lieutenant Torres. The Alliance sensors haven't detected them. Good. When the swarm arrives, we'll show them why humans paint their ships gray. 3 weeks later, sirens wailed across the Alliance station. The swarm had arrived earlier than predicted, a massive biological fleet of 10,000 ships, each one a living nightmare of teeth, tentacles. An acid.ZAR single quotes KONI stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Stellar Pride. His fleet of 500 vessels formed the Alliance's first line of defense. All ships engage at maximum range. Do not let them reach the inhabited systems. The battle began catastrophically. The Alliance's antimatter beams and plasma cannons scorched the swarm's bioships, but for every one destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The swarm adapted quickly, growing armor plates resistant to energy weapons. On the Pennsylvania, Admiral Chun watched the battle unfold. Sir, Seo-Yeon reported, the Alliance is being overwhelmed. They've lost 30% of their fleet in 20 minutes. Not yet, Chun said. Let them call for help first. The Zircon Empire's pride shattered as the Stellar Pride took massive damage. Zarkonian watched his beautiful, sleek ships torn apart by acid and biological missiles. The Vorthan's crystal ships shattered under the swarm's assault. This is Zarkonian to all Alliance members, he broadcast, his voice breaking. We need immediate reinforcement. Any ships, any weapons. The swarm has evolved beyond our capabilities. Sarah Chun, monitoring from Earth's embassy, opened a channel. Ambassador Chun to Alliance Fleet. Earth stands ready to assist. Your 200 primitive ships? Zarkonian spat, even in his desperation. They'll be destroyed in seconds. Not 200, Sarah said calmly. Admiral Chun, you may reveal the Ghost Fleet. Suddenly, space itself seemed to ripple. 8,000 human ships materialized from dark space, surrounding the battle zone. They weren't sleek or beautiful. They were industrial, brutal, and absolutely massive. Impossible, Vex transmitted. Our sensors didn't detect human stealth technology. Admiral Chun interrupted. We've been hiding in plain sight for months. All ships, engage. Show them why we build ugly. Asterisk, the human fleet moved with terrifying coordination. Unlike the Alliance's chaotic retreat, every human ship acted as part of a single organism. They didn't fight the swarm. They hunted it. Captain Jung Hoon commanded the UES Texas, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. Deploy the kinetic rounds. He ordered. The Alliance watched in shock as human ships fired what looked like primitive projectiles. But these weren't simple bullets. They were relativistic kill vehicles. Chunks of tungsten accelerated to near light speed. They punched through bioarmor like paper. Their weapons are so primitive. They're effective, Vex observed in amazement. But the real surprise came when Minjung, commanding the carrier Yu's Soul, gave his order. Launch all fighters. Authorization. Swarm protocol. 30,000 human fighters poured from the carriers. Not sleek interceptors like the Alliance used, but ugly, angular craft built for one purpose: destruction. Each fighter pilot was connected through neural interfaces, sharing thoughts and reactions instantly. Zarkonian watched his tactical display in disbelief. They're using swarm tactics against the swarm. They're out-adapting a species that evolves in real time. The human fighters didn't dodge elegantly. They rammed. They didn't retreat when damaged. They detonated their reactors as weapons. For every human ship lost, they took 3 swarm vessels with them. Monsters, an Alliance captain whispered. The humans are monsters. Admiral Chun heard the transmission. No, he replied. We're survivors. Earth taught us that beauty doesn't win wars. Desperation does. The Pennsylvania moved forward. Its ugly gray hull opening to reveal its main weapon, not energy beam, but a mass driver that fired antimatter warheads wrapped in conventional explosives. Fire, Sean ordered. The warhead smashed into the swarm's command node. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. Admiral, Co Yeon reported, the swarm is retreating. They're actually retreating. For the first time in 300 years, the swarm ran from a battle. Zarkonian's ship limped toward the Pennsylvania. His beautiful stellar pride was scarred, half-melted, dying. The ugly human dreadnought extended docking clamps, pulling the alien vessel to safety. Why? Zarkonian asked, overcomes. We mocked you. We insulted you. Because, Sarah Chun replied from Earth, humans don't hold grudges during extinction events. We save those for after everyone survives. The Alliance fleet, what remained of it, watched as human ships began search and rescue operations. The same ugly vessels they'd laughed at were now their salvation. Asterisk. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The chamber that had echoed with mockery 3 weeks ago now stood silent as Admiral Chun and Sarah Chun presented humanity's true history. You wondered why our ships are ugly, Admiral Chun began. Why we use projectiles alongside energy weapons. Why we paint everything gray. The holographic display showed Earth, not the recovered garden world the Alliance knew, but Earth from 200 years ago. A radioactive wasteland. Cities in ruins. Billions dead. We almost destroyed ourselves, Sarah continued. Nuclear war, biological weapons, climate collapse. We survived by abandoning beauty for function. Pretty ships don't win wars, stubborn, ugly ones do. Vex's crystalline form flickered with curiosity. Your neural network technology. How did you develop it? Necessity, Minjun answered. When 8 billion humans were reduced to 800 million, we learned to connect our minds to replace our lost numbers. Every human ship shares thoughts. Every pilot feels what the others feel. Zarkonian, his scales still healing from his injuries, asked the question everyone wondered. The stealth technology. How did you hide 8,000 ships? Jung-hoon smiled grimly. We didn't develop it for military use. We created it to hide from ourselves. During the resource wars, cities would cloak themselves to avoid nuclear strikes. We got very good at disappearing. The display showed more images, humans fighting in the ruins of their cities, adapting, surviving, becoming something harder than before. You call us primitive, Seo Yan said. But we're not primitive. We're post-apocalyptic. There's a difference. Primitive species haven't learned true warfare. We've learned it too well. The swarm, an Alliance admiral interrupted. They've never retreated before. What did you do? Admiral Chun's expression darkened. We thought like them. The swarm consumes and adapts, but they've never faced a species that nearly consumed itself and survived. We know what desperation looks like. We know how to fight without hope, without beauty, without mercy. And that's why you helped us? Zarkonian asked. No, Sarah said. We helped you because after humanity nearly ended itself, we made a promise. Never again. Not to us, not to anyone. When the Pennsylvania pulled your ship to safety, it wasn't forgiveness. It was duty. The council fell silent. Then Vex spoke. I motion to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Alliance. And ... I motion to make Admiral Chun the supreme military commander of Alliance forces. Seconded, Zarkonian said immediately. The vote was unanimous. Asterisk 6 months later, the galaxy had changed. Human ships, once mocked for their ugliness, were now the most requested escort vessels in Alliance space. The gray paint everyone had laughed at? It was radar-absorbing material that made ships nearly invisible to most scanning methods. Captain Jung-hoon stood on the bridge of the Texas, now flagship of a mixed human Alliance fleet. Beside him, Zarkonian served as his tactical advisor. Contact on sensors, Siseo Yan announced. It's the swarm. They're sending a signal. For the first time in recorded history, the swarm wanted to communicate. The message was simple. We recognize Earthspawn. We withdraw from this galaxy. We do not fight the already dead who still live. Admiral Chun, watching from the Pennsylvania, understood. The swarm saw in humanity what they saw in themselves, a species that had evolved through catastrophe. But where the swarm consumed others, humanity had consumed itself and survived. Let them go, Chun ordered, but track them. If they threaten another galaxy, we follow. Sarah Chun, now president of the Alliance Council, addressed the assembled species. The galaxy mocked us for our ugly ships and primitive weapons. But sometimes, primitive is what works. Sometimes, ugly is what survives. Min Jun, promoted to Grand Admiral of Training, had established academies on every Alliance world. He taught alien species human tactics, not the clean, elegant warfare they knew, but the dirty, desperate fighting that Earth had mastered. Lesson 1, he would always begin. Forget about glory. Glory is for species that haven't nearly gone extinct. We fight to exist, nothing more. The Zircon Empire redesigned their ships, making them less beautiful, but more functional. The Vorthans developed kinetic weapons alongside their energy beams. The entire Alliance, began to paint their ships gray dot in the end. Zarkonian would write in his memoirs, "We mocked humanity for being primitive, for building ugly ships, for using ancient weapons. We didn't understand that humanity wasn't primitive. They were refined by apocalypse. Their ships weren't ugly. They were honest. Their weapons weren't ancient. They were proven. The galaxy's greatest mistake," he concluded, "was confusing human pragmatism for weakness. Their fleet's true power wasn't in its weapons or numbers. It was in the species that built it, a species that had faced extinction and said, 'Not today.' A species that turned their darkest hour into their greatest strength. The memorial on Earth's moon bore a simple inscription. We painted our ships gray, not because we couldn't make them beautiful, but because we learned that in the darkness of space, beauty is a luxury only the naive can afford." Years later, when new species joined the Alliance, they would ask why human ships were so revered despite their appearance. Sarah Chun, old now but still sharp, would always give the same answer: because when the beautiful ships were burning and the sophisticated weapons were failing, the ugly gray boxes full of stubborn humans were the ones still fighting. And in the end, that's all that mattered. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never mock humanity. They had survived themselves. Everything else was easy by comparison. And somewhere in deep space, the ghost fleet waited, hidden, ready. 8,000 ugly gray ships filled with a species too stubborn to die, too practical to care about appearances, and too dangerous to ever underestimate again. The galaxy would never mock humanity again. They couldn't afford to. Asterisk.